Welcome to Late Start Piano. My name is Josh. Today we're going to be talking about voicing or balancing. Could be called either one between a single hand, and then maybe I'll make another video talking about balancing with both hands together. So I'm going to play a little bit of Liebestraum number 3 by Liszt, very famous nocturne. I'm only going to play maybe the first 3 or 4 bars or so, just so we can paint this picture, and then I'll kind of explain the differences between the two ways that I'll play it and talk about some more stuff. So here's the first way I'll play it. I want you to think about which way sounds better, number 1, and why it sounds better, number 2, whichever way you pick. So this is version A. We'll just play that, and then we'll go ahead and play version B. Now, to me, and I think to most people, version A sounds much better. And why does it sound much better is because we had much better voicing in between both of those hands, okay? So we had good voicing between both hands and actually in the first and just one hand as well. So for those of you who don't know, voicing and or balance, could be called either one, is all about controlling how loud and how soft you are playing notes. Again, could be just one hand or both hands together. So for example, if I were to play 2 notes just in my right hand, let's say we were to play octaves, F octaves, I could play it like that, where both of the notes are pretty much at the same volume. I could also play it like this, where it doesn't even register in the bottom, where the bottom sounds much louder, or I could play it like this, where the bottom is louder. And once you can kind of do this, you can calibrate how loud or how soft you want to play between each note. So when it came to Liebestraum, the first way I played it, I was really bringing out the melody. And this is something you want to think about, especially when you're playing classical music, but all different kinds of music. You want to bring out the melody. So the melody in this case is just the C. Here's again. Here it comes again. Another one. Then you have this kind of walk up. So basically it's C the whole time. Then you have this little chromatic thing in there, right? That's also part of the melody. So that really should be a focal point. You want the melody to be the most easily recognizable. In other words, you want that to kind of be the loudest, the most easy thing to hear. And then the bass note, whatever bass note you're playing, that should be number 2. Everything else I'm doing with this, like all these other notes, these accompaniment notes, those can be much softer because that's not the focal point. You want the melody to really come out easy enough, and you also want the bass note to come out easy and be heard as well, slightly less than the melody, because the bass note dictates the harmony, right? So that A in this case should be coming out. That makes it an A flat major. Then we do this, which changes the harmony. So the harmony is second behind the melody, again, in importance. What you don't want to do is the second way I played it, everything kind of sounds the exact same volume. Like this, if you're playing it like this, you don't want to do that, because the listener can't latch on to the melody, and everything sounds like it's equally important, and that's never the case. The melody and the bass note, again, those always take priority over any kind of embellishments or accompaniment and things of that nature, right? So that's one thing. So we want to make sure we understand that and why we understand the importance. Hopefully when I played it in the beginning, you could really hear the difference between version A and version 2 or version B. I'm not sure if the MIDI is actually picking that up, but hopefully it does. And when I play the octaves as well, you want to be able to hear that. So now that you understand the importance of this and again why it's important, let's talk a little bit about how to actually practice this. So when you're practicing this, one thing you can do if you just want to do it one hand at a time is you can do what I did earlier and play octaves, but only play either the top note or the bottom note. So let's say we're playing F octaves. We are working on our voicing within one hand. Level 1 would be not playing the bottom note at all. So we're going to play the top note as loud as we can and not play the bottom note at all. We're going to touch it. We're going to make contact with the thumb, but we don't want to press down on the note at all. We don't want to really put any pressure down on that note. We only want to make contact with it. Once you can do that consistently, then the next step is you want to press a little bit down into the key, but not make any noise. So you can't really see, but I am pressing the key down right now, and it's not lighting up, and there's no noise that's coming out. And then as you press lower into the key, you see it lights up. Right? You can't hear it because I'm pressing down so slow, but maybe you can hear that. Right? So the level and the speed that you press down on the key should be changing depending on which notes in particular you want to voice and that you want to actually bring out. So again, level 1 would be just pressing whichever note that you are not trying to accent, so to speak, just pressing it like this. Level 2, once you can do that, is press it down, but there still shouldn't be any noise. And you can see it light up in there because level 3 is going to be exactly that. We press down and the tiniest noise possible comes out. And one common mistake people make when they do this is they also bring down, in this example, the top note quiet. So they'll start playing both notes really quiet. Again, that's not the point of this exercise. The point is to still play this as loud as you can, but play this as soft as you can. And it's not easy to do. Then, once you can do that, and once you get to step 2, by the way, once you start kind of pressing this down, but not making any noise, it's going to very naturally bleed into step 3 because you're going to be pressing down on the key and it's going to get to a point where the more you press down, noise is going to happen. It's really impossible not to make a noise once you are pressing down at a certain level. So you will be making noise and that's okay. That's kind of what you actually want to do. So once you're able to do that and you can still play this note really loud and you can kind of play this bottom note as quietly as possible, the next thing you want to do is kind of calibrate. So let's say you want to play the top note a little bit lower and the top note a little bit louder. And now I'm switching. Now I'm only playing the bottom note loud and I'm only tapping the top note. Then same thing, you're going to press slowly down on the top note, but keeping the bottom note as loud as possible. And then go slower down into the top note until you hear a very quiet noise. And then try to calibrate that. Then you can kind of play around with different volumes in each of your fingers, okay? So that's one way you can do this. Another way that you can do this in one hand is pick a song. It doesn't have to be Liebestraum. It can be pretty much any song that you are playing multiple notes, let's say at least 2 notes in either hand. So as long as you're playing multiple notes in either hand, then you can do this because that's what voicing is about. And we can do the same thing we just did, but take it to the song instead. So let's say we want to do just one hand. The C note, you hold it down while you're playing these notes. So you would hold this note down and just tap the accompaniment. Again, not making any noise. Then, once you can do that, now we're translating this to the actual song, then you're going to press down a little bit on these accompanying notes. So these accompanying notes being E flat, A flat, and C at the top. And you can break this down very small. Like I played the first 3 or 4 measures, but you can literally just take half of a measure or a quarter of a measure of whatever it takes for you to really work on this. And then once you get that down, you'll start pressing a little bit lower into the keys. Then once you can do that, you're going to try to make the softest noise that you can possibly make in these accompanying notes while keeping the melody note loud. And then hopefully you can hear that, but then you can make it the volume you want to. So if you want it to be super quiet, or you can bring them out a little bit louder. Again, you don't want them to be the same volume though. So if it sounds like this, that's not what you want. You want to be able to clearly distinguish the melody note from the accompaniment, okay? So that's kind of the main thing. And again, I'll play it one more time just so you can kind of hear this. Right, and so on and so forth. What's the matter, buddy? But that's what you want to do. So you can take this very small. Again, you don't have to apply this to a piece. I would suggest that you do. If you are learning a piece of music right now with sheet music, I would suggest that you do what I just showed you. Try to bring out the melody. Make sure the bass note is also included once you start putting both hands together. But really, if you're brand new to this, voicing slash balance concept, then just start with one hand or start with just octaves, literally just 2 notes. It doesn't have to be octaves. If that's too big for your hand, you could just do thirds. So do F and A and do the same thing. Just tap one note, then slowly bring the other note down without making any noise. Then slowly push it down further so that you are making noise, but it's very quiet. And then you can kind of play around with the volume from there. I would suggest you bring it to an actual piece that you're working on because that will instantly make a huge, huge difference in your playing. Especially if you're a beginner, this is not something that you typically think about because as a beginner, you're thinking about playing the correct notes, right? You want to play the correct notes and you're focusing on keeping the rhythm correct and the timing correct and just hitting the correct notes. Way too many beginners don't think about the musicality of their playing until much later. So if you can start incorporating this into your playing and thinking about the musicality while you're still early on in your playing career, that's going to help you immensely down the road. I promise, I guarantee it. The voicing is also something that will make an immediate difference on your playing. So if you feel like you're not sounding that good, even though you are playing the correct notes, if you work on your voicing and do what I told you to do up to this point and bring out that melody, then your playing is going to sound much, much better almost instantly. And this is a huge, huge tip that a lot of people don't realize when they're first starting to play. But now that you've watched this video, it is something that you know how to do. So let me know if that makes sense. Another video, I'll talk about kind of how to balance in between both hands together. This was just kind of one hand by itself. Hopefully that makes sense. Any questions, comments, concerns, let me know down below. I'm also offering piano lessons right now, so if you're interested in that, you liked what you heard today, send me an email. Email address is listed down below. let's get started on making you a better piano player. I specialize in teaching people who have never played before. So if you have a piano, it's been collecting dust, or you've been watching YouTube videos, or you tried other lessons before, it hasn't worked out, send me an email. First lesson is free. If you want to continue after that, then we can talk about different pricing options for you. Again, my name is Josh, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.